welcome everyone. We are in for a true and really wonderful treat tonight as I fiddle with the microphone. John Adams, who some of you got to spend some time with just at the end of the day today, is genuinely one of the great minds in American advertising. Just as importantly, he is also one of the great figures in the Longwood firmament. He has served as our rector twice. His wonderful wife, Bunny, is one of our distinguished alumni. And he has been sportsmanlike in the last 2 weeks after the gargantuan thumping that Longwood gave to Hampton-Sydney in basketball, his alma mater. John has spent 4 decades at the Martin Agency, which, as almost all of you know, is the intergalactically acclaimed advertising agency based in Richmond. It's been included in the Advertising Age's A-list 5 out of the 6 years that has been published, and most recently, the Martin Agency won an Emmy for an interactive documentary that it created for the JFK Presidential Library and Museum. John plays a key role on a team that continues to bring national attention to the agency, representing brands such as Discover, Geico, Walmart, Hanes, Kraft, B.F. Goodrich. He is also, as a great Longwood figure, a very active leader, a citizen leader, both throughout the Commonwealth and the country. He is the chair of the board of directors of VCU's Brand Center, also serves on the board of the JFK Library Foundation and the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History, in addition to being the rector here at Virginia's third oldest public university. He has served on the boards of the VMFA, the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, and the Virginia Historical Society. A member of the Advertising Hall of Fame, John lectures frequently on marketing and business issues throughout the United States. So John, please seize the stage and regale us.
Wow, I have never had that invitation before. Please seize the stage and regale us. That's a big order. How are you all? How are you all? All right, that's great. That's great. So we're going to talk about advertising and what it takes to make good advertising. And I think that for some of you that's going to be interesting because you may be considering a career in that field or in some other marketing field. But what I hope to be able to do is talk about this in ways that are transferable, because many of the things that one has to do to create a successful advertising campaign are the things one has to do to create success in lots of different arenas and for lots of different kinds of things. So I hope this will be helpful to you. First of all, before I say anything else, yeah, I've been in the business for 4 decades, and I can tell you, I mean, I know you're all considering different kinds of careers, and I'm sure they will all be great, but I will tell you right now that the most fun business in the world is the advertising business. It is the most delightful, enjoyable, fun business there is. I've worked in it for 40 years. I have never been bored a single day. I've never been bored a single half day. It's just a thrill. We work in the world of ideas, which is the most wonderful world in which to work. We are surrounded with interesting, eclectic, odd, quirky, slightly off-center people, and we love them, and they do amazing things. So I'll just start there. It's a great field, and it's a great career. If any of you are interested, and I will lobby a little bit here. If you're interested, first of all, I'm glad, and second, pursue it, and when the time is right, give me a call, because we are always looking for great minds and great talent, and they are to be found at this university as much as they are anywhere else. So we're going to talk first about what advertising does and what's it good for. So we're going to get into that, but before we do, why don't I show you a handful of television commercials so that we can get in the zone a little bit. And these are commercials that have been produced at our company within the last 2.5 years. So William, let's take a look. Maybe I have to do this. I do.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-woo!
Ronnie, how happy are folks who save hundreds of dollars switching to Geico? I'd say happier than a camel on Wednesday.
Hump day!
Get happy.
Yeah!
Get Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Here's to a magical Christmas. Save money, live better. Walmart.
Discover card? Hey, so I'm looking at my bill and my FICO credit score is on here.
Yeah, you've got our Discover It card, so you get your FICO score on your monthly statements now for free.
That's nice of you.
It's a great way to stay on top of your credit and make sure things look the way they should.
Awesome sauce.
Huh. My twin sister always says that. Wait, Lisa?
Julie? You sound really different on the phone.
Do I sound pleasant?
For once in your life, you sound very pleasant.
At Discover, we treat you like you'd treat you. Free FICO credit score. Get the IT card at discover.com.
Wonder if I gave an Oreo to the big bad wolf, how would the story go? Would he still go huff and puff, or would he bring those pigs cool stuff to decorate the deck he helped them build? Would they not get killed? Wonder if I gave an Oreo to a vampire in a creepy show. Would he not act so undead? Would he thirst for milk instead? I've just got this feeling that it might work out alright. 'Cause cream does wondrous things inside a chocolate sandwich dream. If I gave them to great white sharks, would they share them with baby seals? Would they call up a giant squid for a friendly meal? Wonder if I gave an Oreo. Wonder if I gave an Oreo. What if I gave an Oreo to you?
Well, sure, you can do chicken, but I'm thinking Cornish game hen. Then everybody gets their own little baby chicken on their own little baby plate. Oh, and an endive salad. No, it's absolutely pronounced endive. Why isn't this working?
Because we drive a station wagon.
The I think I drive the same car as a hip-hop music mogul because I'm feeling richer effect. It happens when you cut your cell phone bill in half. Switch to Straight Talk Unlimited Everything for just $45 a month, so you'll feel richer too. Only at Walmart.
When I heard that people were eating stovetop all the time, not just on Thanksgiving, blew my mind. I just can't believe people are eating stovetop stuffing every day of the year. I'm all about change. I'm a freewheeling guy, okay? I tweet, but stovetop was the thing that made Thanksgiving our special holiday. And if you take that away, what's next? Our buckles? Our muskets? This thing, whatever it's called? No, sir. No way.
Hanes underwear with revolutionary X-Temp technology is designed to respond to your body temperature to help keep you cool. Let's put it to the test.
Yep.
Oh. Just gonna play it.
Wedge?
Yep. Next!
It speeds evaporation to help keep you cool and dry. Hanes X-Temp technology. Because when you're cool, you're comfortable.
I think you got this.
Hello? I'm gonna destroy you. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I'm gonna be like Maddensaurus Rex on you. Hey, did you get my get well card? Well, it was like a sympathy card. It's like, sorry to hear about your loss. You wanna hear my impression of you? Why did you beat me? Ouch, ouch. What's wrong? I was just feeling your pain. I'm gonna crush you like the velvet on your daddy's wedding tux. You know where you should hang out sometime? The end zone. Really? It's awesome. I go there all the time. That's funny, because I have a little condo there. Oh, really? I live there. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Isn't your bedtime at 9:30?
Get Madden NFL 09 at Walmart. It's the fastest way to play. Rated E for everyone. Save money, live better. Walmart.
Okay, so a range of different styles, a range of different kinds of television commercials. And, you know, the thing about television commercials is some of them we like and most of them we hate, because most of them are really bad. They're boring, they're insulting, they're tedious, they're all of those things. And so we do what we can to avoid them. We skip over them. We TiVo them. We do everything we can to avoid them and bounce over them. I do that. I skip over commercials. And the only exception is when I see something that is a really great piece of communication. And then I will watch it, and I will want to watch it again and again and again. So we have this ambivalent kind of relationship, or maybe bifurcated relationship with advertising. So let me just ask, this is the audience participation part of the talk, what useful thing does advertising do? If there is one. Anybody? Yes. Right? Very good. Yes, ma'am. Say again? Persuasion. Okay. Anything else? Yeah. Yep. Good. Okay, yes. Say again? Yeah. Very good. Very good. Okay, yes. Paul? Sorry? Have fun. Good. All right, all of those are correct. All of those are correct. And there is a lot of usefulness in good advertising. And there's no usefulness in bad advertising. And so when we think about preparing advertising, we've got to think about its usefulness. We've got to think about what it is designed to do. So we think about it in 4 ways, the value of advertising in 4 ways. First and most obvious, advertising can help good products succeed. And if we believe that we're trying to make good products succeed, then that means we have to be careful about the kinds of products and services and organizations that we represent. And so we are very careful. And we decline the majority of potential clients that call. We're in a very fortunate position to be able to be selective. But we are careful because we believe in good advertising for good products. And so we believe in the products and organizations that we support. So I shop at Walmart. I bought some things today with my Discover card. I drive on B.F. Goodrich tires. And I am very comfortable tonight in my Hanes underwear, and I hope you are as well. So we believe in those products. So help good products succeed. The second thing that really good advertising does is it speeds up the death of bad products. Nothing ever killed a bad product faster than good advertising. Because when somebody does great advertising for an inferior product, the inferiority is discovered by more people faster than it would be otherwise. And so, while I don't like the idea of representing poor products, I do think that one of the odd, sort of perverse good uses of advertising is to reveal poor products and get them off the shelves as quickly as possible. When we think about advertising in our organization, we obviously have a very strong obligation to our clients, the people who pay us to do this work, and who invest millions and millions of dollars in this. But we also believe we have an obligation to you, to the people who watch the advertising or hear the advertising or read it. And the obligation comes from the way our culture, the way we in our culture deal with one of the problems, one of the issues in our culture. And that issue is that in almost every category of product or service, we have too many choices. We have vastly more choices than we need. When it comes to running shoes, when it comes to video games, when it comes to breakfast cereal, we have too many choices. Marketing people are very fond of saying that we have so many choices that consumers get confused. Well, I don't know about you, but when I go into a Walmart and look at all the choices, I'm not confused. I might be a little overwhelmed. I might need to take my time with making some choices, but I'm not confused. And the reason I'm not confused, the reason I'm not overwhelmed, is that human beings have a built-in mechanism to keep our heads from exploding from having too many choices. And that mechanism is called habit. It's called routine. We return to the same choices over and over again because they're good choices for us, because they work. And if we didn't have that, if you had to make every choice every single day about the toothpaste you're about to use, or any number of choices, you wouldn't make it through the day. But we do make it through the day, and we do just fine, and we're not confused because we have routines, we have habits. Now, the flip side of habits, of course, is that there's a lot out there that we miss. There are choices that we're not aware of. There are new choices that come on the market. There are choices that we think of as being maybe for somebody else, but not for us. And so one of the jobs, and in our view, the most important job of advertising in society is to introduce people to potentially better choices in their lives. And those better choices could be in matters as simple as a credit card or breakfast cereal or a video game, or they could be as important as what cause do I want to devote my time and money to? Do I want to support a historical museum or an animal rights group? And advertising introduces people to all of those very important choices, life-changing choices, as well as the more routine choices. So that's the way we look at it. And if we're going to say these are potentially better choices for you, then they better be really good choices. They better be good products and services. And so I think that there's a value there. The fourth thing that advertising can do that we're very careful about is that advertising has a very significant effect on the culture. It has an impact on the culture, and that impact can be positive It can lead us to new ways of thinking about things. It can lead us to new ways of looking at things, and it can be debilitating and negative. So, for example, to think of two examples. One is the example of Nike. You're all familiar with Nike's advertising through the years, and it is stunningly good advertising, consistently over several decades. And one of the things that makes it wonderful is that it is designed beautifully, and it is written elegantly, and it is powerful, and it makes us think about, the kind of people we are. Are we, Nike appeals to the athlete in all of us. That's the way they talk about what they do. And so it helps us think about ourselves differently. It helps us think about discipline differently. And it helps us think about those things in a way that is beautiful. And it has been for a long time. Our advertising for Geico has had a significant impact on the culture. Historically, one does not do funny advertising for insurance companies. An automobile insurance company is who you call when you have just smashed your car. Not funny. And yet, there was an opportunity, there was an opening to begin to lighten up the insurance category and to invite a different view and a different level of enjoyment and fun into a very staid and sort of boring category. That's the one product that you buy that you hope you will never use. And you wish you didn't have to buy it, but you do. So we can lighten that up. And so we've tried to do that with Geico. You can think in your own experience of looking at television, looking online at the enormous amount of advertising that's online. And again, no difference. Most of it is really bad. But you can think of other brands and other kinds of advertising that have had a positive, uplifting influence on the culture. I just saw the work of the design studio upstairs. And the work is really wonderful that some of the students here in the room have done. And one of the reasons it's wonderful is that it elevates the visual dialogue, if you will. It elevates the visual experience that we all have in the culture. So advertising, when it is done well, and when it is done responsibly, and then when it is done with some sense of goal to do something above the ordinary, can be a very good positive influence on a culture. Okay, so what does it take to do great advertising? That was the question that was put to me, and so I want to talk to you about that, and I want to talk to you about several different components, 4 different components of what makes advertising great. And I want you to think about these not only as it relates to advertising, but as it relates to other kinds of work that are done particularly in teams. And you will spend much of your life, whatever your field of endeavor, you're going to spend much of your life working in collaboration with other people, working in teams. So maybe this can be useful to you. So the first thing advertising needs, if it's going to be any good, is a great advertising brief. That is to say, the project, the assignment. What is it that we're trying to get done here? And if you render that assignment, if you invite the work with a brief that is interesting, powerful, presents an opportunity, that makes an enormous difference. The question you ask at the beginning has everything to do with the answer you're going to get at the end. So what I want to do is show you an example of 2 briefs for 2 different advertising assignments. And I think you'll see the difference here. The first one was for New Balance shoes. And you can read this, maybe not in the back. Let me read it. What is the advertising going to achieve? That's the first question in the brief. We're advertising the sneaker, not the person. We're not like Nike. We want to focus on our product. We want to increase awareness and market position for New Balance sneakers. Let people know about the innovation, style, and comfort of these well-made shoes. What do we know about these consumers? Well, in the first person, I, the consumer, shouldn't have to think about my sneakers. I'm not trying to be a celebrity athlete. I'm not willing to sacrifice a cheap pair of shoes for ones that are more comfortable. And finally, what's the best, most persuasive message we can tell them? New Balance has a sneaker for every occasion. Are you excited? Of course not. Of course not. The most persuasive thing we can say is we have a sneaker for every occasion, right? This is laziness. This is lack of imagination. This is getting the ball started in the wrong direction. This brief was written by a strategic planner in our organization before he joined our organization. And we hired him despite this brief because he's brilliant and he's doing a lot better. He's writing some of the best briefs in our company. But this is almost an art form, to write a good brief and to prepare a creative team, the people who have to make this thing sing, to prepare them properly for the job. Now I'm going to show you a different kind of brief. And this is for a new form of soft drink, a new kind of soft drink. When you think of soda, what comes to mind? Odds are something like this. Those are the things we think about when it comes to soda. But it wasn't always that way. Before corn syrup replaced sugar and chemicals became acceptable, it was different. Sodas were always a treat, a deliciously simple, worry-free treat, like homemade ice cream or apple pie, as American as it gets. The hero, never the villain. So what happened? What went wrong? Compromise. Mass production, cutting corners, maximizing profit. That's what went wrong. They say, you'll never produce a truly organic soda. It's impossible to bottle a shelf-stable product free of additives and preservatives. You can't eliminate 65% of the calories without sacrificing taste. We did. That's Very. Very is the name of this new brand. Our conviction is rooted in a profound personal awakening, mirroring the culture. This is the consumption of soft drinks between the years of 2005 and 2012. You can see the reduction in the use of soft drinks in the core soft drink audience. Why? Well, because people are smarter. People care more. They care what goes into their bodies. They care how it's produced. And so the choice people have is ignorance or enlightenment. Ignorance or enlightenment. Ignorance, down the hatch, supersize me, blind faith, myopic, wasteful. What's in it? Moderation, sustainable, critical eye, open. That's the difference. That's the choice. So what can we offer these people? What promise do we make? Very offers a daring proposition for those with a taste for good. A sneaker for every occasion, or a daring proposition for those with a taste for good. Some creative considerations for the creative team. 1, soda first, wellness second. Yes, clearly our product is superior to traditional sodas, but it's still a soda. We're not righting the world. We're not saving soda. We should be mindful of just how preachy we allow ourselves to get. Key piece of guidance. 2, accentuate the positive. You don't have to dwell on the disease to offer a remedy. We need something to push off, yes, but people know traditional soda is shit. You'll find that my colleagues are very bright, but not always very elegant. We're offering people permission to indulge. It's also important that more U.S. people generally prefer positive messages. And then finally, claim the language. We are organic and low calorie. We're not natural, because natural doesn't mean anything anymore. Anything can call itself natural. If it's got the slightest bit of natural ingredients, it's natural. And people are onto that. So we are specific, we are organic, and we are low calorie. Okay. Now, look at this brief. Imagine that you are the writer or the designer that's got to produce this advertising. I would suggest to you that you would come away with an elevated sense of possibility, with an elevated sense of responsibility, with an elevated sense of what could come out of this, as opposed to the first brief. So, in our world, this is the beginning of the work that we do. And we're deliberately taking two sort of mundane products, a soda and a running shoe. But this is the work that's done on every assignment. So that's really important. And I think it's important, what I hope you get from this is not simply, wow, that's how advertising people write about soda, but rather that when you are working in a group, when you are leading a team, when you are leading an organization, it matters what you ask them to do. The call to arms matters. The call to arms needs to have energy. It needs to have purpose. It needs to have ambition. It needs to be something that will make people want to get up out of their chairs and go do it. So as you, as students and ultimately graduates of this university, know, you're going to find yourselves, many of you find yourselves into leadership positions of different kinds of organizations. Remember this. This isn't a little advertising example here. This is an important consideration. Ask people to do big things. And you know what they'll do? Big things. We crave that kind of challenge as human beings. We don't want to do ordinary things. We don't want to do routine things. We don't want to be bored in our jobs. We want to do important things. So as you lead a team, think about the important things that need to be done. Think about the powerful things that need to be done. Think about ways to express them that are atypical. The difference between this first little brief, all words, one picture, and the second brief, image after image, electricity, color. And as the design students demonstrated a little while ago to my wife and me, color matters, beauty matters. Energy expressed graphically matters. It communicates. It communicates just as powerfully as words do. So think about that. Beauty matters. Surround yourself with beauty. Surround your team with beauty, with energy, with a strong call to arms. So, a great brief. The next thing it takes to do great advertising is courage. It takes courage because what you're developing is an idea that hasn't been done before. That's the gold standard of advertising. Show me something that hasn't been done before, that's new, that's fresh. And very often that takes courage. It takes courage on the part of an advertising agency. And I will tell you, when we walked into the Geico headquarters with the first funny commercial for automobile insurance, it took some guts on the part of that team. What was even more important was that it took courage on the part of the people who were in charge of advertising at that car insurance company to do it, to buy that idea, to buy that whole notion that, we can inject some liveliness and some fun and some humor into this category. It took courage. It took more courage on their part than it did on our part. All we have to do is recommend it. What they have to do is do it. So it takes courage. And in the work that you do, anything significant, anything important is probably going to take some measure of courage, some measure of guts to do something that hadn't been done before, to do something in a way that hasn't been done before, to do something that gets people's attention, that is noticed, that is remembered, whatever that work is. Courage. The third thing it takes is chemistry. Chemistry on a team. The combination of people working on a project really makes an enormous amount of difference. And I think all of you know that. You've worked in collaboration in teams. But it really, really makes a big difference. And so we are very careful in our business to cast teams with people who have different skills and different personalities, but who are complementary, that aren't likely to clash, but so much. A little clash is really good. Debilitating clash is not good. So chemistry. Chemistry is very important. And finally, the environment is important. And when you are working within the context of a team, part of your responsibility is to create the environment that is open and that is free and that is safe for radically different kinds of thinking. It's the only way you're going to get it. So in our business, for example, our people in our company are very skeptical of authority. These are creative people, they're smart people, they can work anywhere they want, and they're very skeptical of authority. So as a result of that, we have a pretty flat organization. We have titles, but nobody cares what the titles are. You know, if you have a good idea, I don't give a damn if you're a vice president or not, you've got a good idea. So flat organization, limited exercise of authority. These are intelligent, well-educated people. They don't need a lot of people looking over their shoulders telling them what to do. Think about that in the work that you will do. They are skeptical of tenure. I've been in this company for 40 years. That doesn't really get me very much. Gets me a little respect. But the question in the minds of everyone that I meet who's new to our company is, so what's he done recently? Has he got good ideas? Is he current? Because he's kind of old, right? So in an accounting firm, tenure is important. Man, that guy's been at it for 40 years. He's seen everything. He must be great. In an advertising agency, God, that guy's been here 40 years, right? Has he got any energy? Has he got any new ideas? Has he sold anything recently to a cantankerous client, right? So it's a different kind of environment, and it's actually a great environment. One of the great things about that in our industry is that young people can move very quickly into positions of authority, and they can very quickly start making a lot of money. Because it's all about the ideas, it's all about your thinking, it's all about your energy, it's all about making things happen. And you don't have to be, 50 years old or 60 years old to have good ideas. So the people who have good ideas, we don't care how old they are, they're in for a ride because we're going to give them responsibility, we're going to pay them well, and we're going to expect a lot of them. So if that's an environment that appeals to you, call me. And then related to these other two things, people are not interested. Not only are they not interested in a lot of authority, they're not interested in a lot of rules. They don't need a lot of rules. When I began my tenure as chief executive officer of our company, one day the chief operating officer brought in the employee manual that had all the rules in it. And it was, 200 pages long. And it talked to you about how many days you could be sick and what equipment you could take home to work at home. You could take this, but you couldn't take that. You know, it was one thing after another. All understandable, legitimate rules, except in the kind of population that we have. And I think increasingly in the populations of lots of organizations. The people who are sitting here in this room are bright, educated people. Do you need a lot of rules to tell you what to do? Not so much. So as we sat and talked about this, we asked the question, what if we didn't have all these rules? And so we began to take them out of the book. Took out the rules on how many days you could be sick, took out the rules about equipment, took out the rules about how many this, how many that, all of the stuff that human resources people love because it creates order. And we took them all out. And so what was left in the employee manual was a description of the benefits. And I called our attorney and said, I want you to know we're doing this. We're taking all the rules out. He knew the manual. And he said, please don't do that. Don't take out the rules. Because if you take out the rules, people are going to take advantage of the company. And you're not going to have a leg to stand on because there's no rule. I said, well, look, we're going to try it. We'll try it. If it doesn't work, boy, we all know you can always put back rules. Easy to put rules in place. So we did try it, and he was right. People took advantage of the company. And it was about 4 people out of a population of 500. And our conclusion was that the message of trust that was communicated by not having 200 rules was worth the 0.5% or whatever it was of the population that gave you a problem. That trade-off to us was worth it. And interestingly, those several people who, in one way or another, took advantage of the company somehow found their way out of the company. You know? We didn't have to fire them because the people around them, weren't cool with it. So I guess it's still an experiment. It's been 20 years, but so far it's working. And I suspect that's an environment that you would want to work in, where there's more freedom than there is, guardrails. And so that's an important element of the environment. So, skeptical of authority, skeptical of tenure, very few rules. And then there's the recognition in our field that there is, that we are, all of the good advertising agencies are supplied by what I call a river of talent that runs through the industry. And the talent moves, and it goes away from this agency, and it goes to this agency, and it comes back to the first agency. It is a river of talent. And the reason is that in an advertising agency, revenue moves in big chunks. We have 500 people in our company and 38 customers. Most people would rather have 38 people and 500 customers, right? So revenue moves in big chunks. And when revenue moves, when a client decides he wants to go do something else, or he wants, another agency to handle the business, or a new chief marketing officer comes in who's got a relationship with an agency from previously, whatever the reason is, revenue moves in big bites. And sometimes people have to leave because there isn't enough work. And that is gut-wrenching when it happens. It's one thing for somebody to have to leave because of poor performance or stealing or something, but it's a very different matter when you've got talented people who've been working their tails off and you've got to let them go because there's not enough work. And so we have to recognize that the way in which we part with those people has everything to do with whether we will be beneficiaries of the river of talent. And so a decision was made in our company a few years ago when we had to do a significant layoff of people, that we were going to call all the agency heads that we knew, and we were going to make an offer, and the offer was that we would pay half of the first month's salary of the individual that we had laid off if the agency would hire them within the first 60 days of their being terminated at our place. And it helped a lot. It helped a lot of our folks. Well, that's a good thing when you're in an environment where there is, talent flowing around. And we have a lot of people who have returned to our agency because opportunities came up, and they came back. And so that's another element of the environment that is really important. For a lot of years, when people would get get a bigger job at another agency and they would leave, I kind of resented it, Gosh, they want to leave? Well, to heck with them. And I wasn't crazy about going to the going away party. And I came to realize over the years that these people they've got great opportunities. And they're going to come back. And they're going to go away again, and they're going to come back. And the way in which we deal with people who have opportunities to go somewhere else has everything to do with whether they come back and how our company is talked about in our industry. So we now, when somebody gets a job at another agency, a competitor, an agency that we despise because, they're doing better work than we are, we celebrate. We celebrate the opportunities that people have. And I feel a lot better, and it's a lot better for business. So I hope those things are helpful to you, and I want to talk about one last thing, and that is your view of your own capability. How many people in the room view themselves as highly creative? Just show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, this is a room full of people. And that is a dagger to the heart. There is a great lie afoot in our culture. And the lie is that some people are creative and some people aren't. That some people have it and some people don't. That you're born with it or you're not. That you can't teach it because you can't learn it. All of those things are categorically, unequivocally, decidedly untrue. All untrue. You can learn how to be creative. Every person in this room has the ability to double or triple or quintuple your creative output, defined as quality and quantity of new ideas. Everybody here. Why is that true? Because creativity, think about creativity, it's not a mystical thing that we can't explain. There are elements of what goes on in our brain that we can't explain. But creativity, think about creativity this way. Creativity is a set of habits of thinking. That's what it is, habits of thinking. People who have discovered their own creativity tend to think in nonlinear fashion. Most people in Western cultures think in a very linear fashion. A to B to C to D. I blame the ancient Greeks for this. Aristotle and Plato and Socrates, who gave us the framework of Western thought. And it is sequential thinking. It is not lateral thinking. Lateral thinking says you're going to jump the tracks. The next step is not going to be B. You're going to go from A to 4 to sigma to, a dot on the wall. You're just going to not do it that way. And every one of us has the ability to learn how to do that. And there are lots of different ways to learn how to do it. And I urge you, when you go back to your room tonight, before you go to sleep, maybe I better do it in the morning because you're going to get pulled into this. Type into your search bar, innovative thinking, and an entire world is going to open up to you. And you will find that you can learn how to be creative, profoundly creative. You can learn how to generate ideas that you never thought you could generate. And it's about learning how to jump the tracks. Let me give you a very simple example that maybe will help you with this. There's a particular set of skills, habits, exercises that have been created by an unusual man with an unusual name. His name is Edward de Bono, and he is Maltese, born on the island of Malta, and he taught at Oxford and Harvard and delved into issues of creativity. And he has a set of exercises. And so let me tell you about one of the exercises. He was training people in the product development area of the Xerox Corporation many years ago. And the exercise was this. He said to the product development people, I want you to go to a dictionary. Back then they were books. And I want you to just flip open the dictionary and run your hand down the page, and I want you to pick out the first noun that you see. And then I want you to do it again and do it again 10 times, 10 nouns. I want you to put them on a card, put them in your pocket. And the next time you have a problem to solve, the next time you have a product thing that's got to be figured out, pull out the card, run your finger down the list, stop at, randomly, and force yourself to use that word, that idea, to solve your problem. Require yourself to do that. So they all go off and they get their cards in their pockets, and a couple of months later, one of these people is involved in a team that is trying to solve an age-old problem, and that is, what do you do when the toner in the machine, when the ink in the machine runs out at 8 o'clock at night? And the person who knows how to change that stuff has gone home, and you got a presentation the next morning and so forth. How do you know when the toner's about to run out and you're not going to be able to use the machine? Happens at the worst possible times. So this guy on this team pulls out his card. He's kind of skeptical about all this, runs his finger down the list, and he stops on the word nose. Okay? All right, I'll try to solve this using nose. Long story, very short. The innovation the team created was that when the toner, the ink, got down to 15%, only 15% left, the machine would emit a fragrance. A pleasant fragrance. And the fragrance would be dissipated for 100 feet in all directions around the machine. So somebody would say, wow, toner's about to go out. About 15% of it left. So that's a tiny example and one of the tiny little simple exercises that this one particular innovator shares and teaches people how to do. And there are things, these are things that you can learn how to do yourself, and I encourage you to do them. And I don't want you to ever say to anyone, well, I'm not really very creative, because it's just untrue. You just haven't connected with it yet, but it's there. And if you get nothing else out of this evening, I hope you will get to that. I hope you will go out of here knowing that you are a profoundly creative individual and that you have power beyond anything you can conceive that you have. If you really understood everything you're capable of, you would be terrified. And creativity is one of those things. So, I'll stop there. I hope this was helpful, interesting. Was it? Okay. All right, good. Thank you all very much. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have for a couple of minutes here about advertising or about creativity or about anything else on your mind. No. Yes, ma'am. It is 804-698-8202. Okay, great. Well, there's not a path. There are many paths. My path was when I got out of college. I didn't have a specific career aspiration. What I knew was I wanted to do something that involved writing. And so I started at a newspaper and became a speechwriter and editor of a little employee newspaper and one thing and another, and got into this business that way. One of the great things about our business is that it is a wonderful, wonderful home for people with liberal arts education. And you don't hear that very much. This is one of those industries. We are desperate for people with that kind of broad background. We have art history majors, we have chemistry majors, we have English majors. We have all kinds of people in our company. And it doesn't matter what you major in. What matters is how you think. And the reason that liberal arts students, graduates, think better is because they are very good at pattern recognition. They're very good at analogous thinking because they know more about more stuff. And so they can see a parallel between this and that. And somebody who's been on a narrow educational track will never see that, right? I would much rather have a liberal arts graduate in our company than an advertising graduate, because the liberal arts graduate is more likely to be able to think more broadly. So lots of different pathways in. And I would say to you that, first of all, it is tough to get into the business because advertising agencies are not giant companies. There are no advertising agencies that are the size of GE or IBM or Apple or any of those companies, right? It's a professional services business. And so the job opportunities at any one advertising agency are limited and infrequent. When you win some big new assignment, a new client, then you'll be hiring 20, 30 people, but it's hard. And all that means is you just got to keep at it. It means that you got to talk to a lot of advertising agencies, and you got to do a good job of presenting yourself and all those things that you know. So it's tough to get in, but what will make the difference for you is your ability to demonstrate energy and a streak of innovative thinking. This is one of those fields where the traditional way of doing a resume that we all learned, right? What's your job objective, and here are your credentials, and here are your summer jobs, and all that kind of stuff, all typed out exactly the same way, and they all look alike, right? And your opportunity in talking to marketing people, whether they be in a corporation or an advertising agency, is to not look like anybody else, because that's what those people are looking for. So do your resume differently. I once had a young woman who sent in her resume in a giant box, almost the size of this podium. And when I opened the box, a giant balloon floated up to the ceiling, and with a little string on it, and there rolled up was her resume. And I promise you she got an appointment. So you've got the latitude and frankly the responsibility to yourself to demonstrate the kind of person you are. That so often is not able to be demonstrated on a resume the way that we're all taught to do resumes, right? I wish we did resumes differently. I wish we asked questions differently. I wish we wanted to know on the resume, what makes you laugh? What makes you cry? You know? What would you go to the ends of the earth for? But, you know, we don't do it that way, and people want to know what your experience is and all that's understandable. In this field, you've got the license to do a little more than that. You don't want to be silly, right? But you do want it to be imaginative. So that's a really long answer. I'm sorry, but I hope it's helpful. Well, the way we came up with a camel was that the creative team, led by a creative director named Wade Alger, who's a brilliant creative director and a very odd thinker. I mean, to the point of almost being a weird thinker. And the brief was really good, really strong, and they just began to imagine, and they began to say, well, analogous thinking, pattern recognition. You know, what's this like? What's that like? Well, it's like a camel being happy on Wednesday because it's hump day. It just fell out of the process that way. How do you get the camel to talk and laugh and so forth? It's called CGI, right? Computer-generated images, and we have an animation studio at our place that does does the animation for the Oreo commercial. And you know, the things one can do with that software these days are marvelous. So that's how that happened. Yes, ma'am. No, I don't. We don't notice a difference. There are some people who get more energy from working in teams, and some people who get more energy from working alone. And it's really more that than anything else. I do notice that people who are more reticent, maybe a little bit more timid about their ideas, will want to go away and work on them a little bit before they just throw them out on the table. But that doesn't mean they're more or less creative. It just that has to do with their own sort of sense of assertiveness and that kind of thing. But no, I don't see any difference between the two. And that's a really great question, because in our field, there's very much a sort of a stereotype that the advertising person is a real, excited, glad-handing kind of person that's got a billion ideas and is loud and boisterous and so forth. And we got a bunch of those. But we also have a lot of people who are quiet. we think of advertising as a business for extroverts. Well, I'm not an extrovert, I'm an introvert. And a lot of the best people in our company are introverts. They are quiet people. And they're just as creative as anybody else. So, cheers to the quiet people. Anything else? Yes, ma'am. You don't balance them. You just do the professional work with an attitude of enjoyment and a certain attitude of play. Play is more imaginative. And so when we are doing professional work, like the writing of a creative brief, which is very serious work, we will try to do that in a way that is more playful than it is serious. It's a great question, but I don't think we draw a distinction between the two. I don't think we try not to draw a distinction between the two. We try to infuse play, the playfulness, with a sense of purpose, a sense of seriousness, if you will, and vice versa. It's a very good question. Okay. Thank you all very much. It's been great to be back here.